Hello children, we are going to discuss wave optics today, which is an important chapter in your class 12 physics. Let's understand what exactly is wave optics. This chapter deals with wave nature of light. You see, the civilizations came later on, and much before, millions of years before the civilization came into existence on earth, we have been associated with the phenomenon called light. Clear? The obsession about knowing the properties of light was a very long standing problem, and as the civilization grew, people started proposing their own theories about light. Many theories came along. The first significant theory which was proposed was by Newton and is called particle theory. So, we will understand this. Let us begin now. Wave optics. So, children, I was telling you that obsession with the sunlight, in fact, made many people to ponder over as to what exactly is the light made up of and how exactly it is traveling, right. The first significant theory which was proposed about light was done by Newton, is called Newton's corpuscular theory, also called particle theory. Also called particle theory. We will be very brief about this theory. What were the major points of this theory? Newton's particle theory said that light is made up of tiny particles, very small particles, and he said that the travelling with the velocity v is equal to E by rho, where rho is density of the medium. Right? Light is made up of tiny particles and they are travelling at extremely high velocity. If density is considered to be close to 0, then velocity will be almost what? Infinite. Right? Newton was a much decorated scientist, so his theory was immediately accepted that light is travelling in the form of particles. Right? But then this theory had problems. For example, number one, it predicted that speed of light will be minimum in air, but we know today that speed of light is maximum in air. According to Newton's this theory, the equation, the particle theory, if light will travel from air to, for example, any other medium, then the velocity of light will increase. But today we know that velocity of light is maximum in air, so this theory fails to explain. Right? Newton again explained the phenomenon of reflection and refraction on the basis of attraction and repulsion, which was again what? Wrong. So, this theory failed to explain the actual behavior of light. Now, we come across so many phenomena which are not explained by light. Let us understand one simple experiment. Suppose light is a particle. Supposing light is a particle. If light is a particle, imagine a bullet. Suppose I have a box here. You can very well understand this. What actually led to the foundation of wave theory, we are going to have a glimpse of that from this simple experiment. I make a hole here in the box. Suppose there is a hole out here, and imagine light is a particle. So, let us imagine a thought experiment. Light is like a bullet. If I fire a bullet, then the bullet should move like this. The bullet will move like this, and then it will go and strike in the wall out here. Now, let us come back to this and say that it is a particle of light. So, this beam of light will travel straight here and only this point can be seen. But we know that when you open a window in the room, that not just the opposite wall, but the whole room gets what? Bright, isn't it? So, now this is not explained by Newton's theory. If the particles are going like this, they will go and bang against the wall, but they possibly will not come onto the other wall and the whole room will not become illuminated, will not become bright. So, Newton's theory fails to explain this, right. Now, many more theories came along until there was a physicist called Christian Huygens. He proposed that actually light is not a particle, but it is a wave. Now, see, Newton was a much decorated and acknowledged scientist, and Huygens' theory was opposed by the church and also by Newton, and it was at crossroads with Newton's theory. Huygens said that light in fact is a type of wave and is propagated through a medium in the form of wave motion. See, light is energy, we all know. Now the question is how this energy propagated. This was the question. Newton said it is propagated in the form of particles, and we find here that this theory actually is wrong. Now Huygens came and he said that light is a type of wave, meaning light energy is being propagated through a medium in the form of waves, right? Now waves were not very thoroughly understood those days. So the moment Huygens said that light is a wave and is propagated through a medium in the form of wave motion, then the scientists wanted to know how is this wave propagated through a medium, because it was known in those days also that most of the space between sun and earth is vacuum. So how is this wave traveling without a medium? Remember, we did in the previous lectures, the previous chapter, electromagnetic waves, and we know that they don't require a medium for their propagation. But those days electromagnetic theories were not in existence, right? Electromagnetic waves were not known in those days. So the scientists wanted to know how is this wave propagated from sun to the earth, because there is so much vacuum. Huygens had no answer to that, but for establishing his theory he made a wrong assumption. He said that the space between sun and the earth is made up of a superficial medium that he called ether. And then everybody wanted to know what exactly this ether, not the ether which we will be doing in chemistry. Understand? Supernatural medium, he said ether is filling the space between sun and the earth, and that medium is carrying the energy from the sun to the earth, right? Now scientists wanted to know what exactly is ether, but ether was not in existence. So all the experiments to identify ether what failed, right? So it was finally the theory went on and many experiments came, like later on we will be discussing interference, polarization, diffraction. These phenomena cannot be explained by using particle theory, right? Now Maxwell's theory came, which he did in the electromagnetic waves, and Maxwell said that electromagnetic waves, they do not require a medium for their propagation, so ether is not required, and this finally established among many experimental results. This was one important finding which said that ether is not at all necessary. Whether there is ether or not, electromagnetic waves will always travel through vacuum and will come to the earth. So this put the final seal on Huygens theory. So we'll be discussing what is Huygens theory now, okay? So children, Huygens theory, now we said that light is a type of wave and is propagated through a medium in the form of wave motion. So how it is being propagated in the form of wave motion? We'll understand this. There are many new terms for you. The first one is wave front. First one is wave front. Let's understand. This is always a means of propagating energy. Light is energy, so how it is being propagated. For example, when I am talking, the vibrations produced by me are being propagated through the medium in the form of what? Compressions and rarefactions. I've done in class 11, the longitudinal waves, right? Now, the propagation of light energy is very special. And then here, Huygens introduced a term that's called wave front. That he said that light is a type of wave and is propagated through a medium in the form of wave fronts. Now what is a wave front? We'll be discussing, but before that we'll be writing all the points of Huygens theory, okay? Huygens theory. First one is each point lying in the path of light acts as a secondary source of light. Secondary source of light. Let's understand what exactly is this point. Each point lying in the path of light acts as a secondary source of light. What does it mean? Suppose the source of light is here, and light is traveling from S like this. It is not necessary for me to go to S. I can find a point P here in the path of light, and Huygens theory says that P will be emitting light exactly in the same way as the source S will be emitting. So, very beautiful point here. Each point lying in the path of light acts as a secondary source of light. That means every point lying in the path of light will be producing waves having same frequency and same wavelength. Very important. Now, second point, light is propagated through a medium in the form of wavefront. In the form of wavefront. I will be discussing in detail what exactly is this term wavefront. Light is propagated through a medium in the form of wavefront. Now, if you want to know where light is located, then he gave a point here that current position of wavefront is given by a common tangent to the wavefront. So, children, there are 3 points. You can copy from the board here. Light is propagated through medium in the form of wavefront. We will be discussing what is a wavefront. And current position of wavefront is given. When I wonder what is the meaning of current position of wavefront, Huygens theory said light is propagated in the form of wavefront. So, if I want to know where light is located, that means I have to find where is the wavefront, right? And then he said that current position of wavefront is given by common tangent to the wavefronts. Clear? So, we will be discussing what is a wavefront now. Okay, what is a wavefront? Children, understand what is wavefront, and the concept of wavefront is very important for understanding wave optics. Let me begin with a very simple example. You must have done when you were a child, you can do now also. You take a stone like this and go sit next to a pond, right? And this piece of stone is a chalk though, but you can take a stone with a little bit heavier, a little better, and throw in the middle of the pond. What do you observe? The point where the stone hits the surface of the water, suppose it hits here, then you find that the particles from here start what? Traveling, and they travel where? Outwards. How they travel outwards? I can imagine at a certain instant I find a set of particles which are located at this circle. After some time I will find yet another what? Set of particles which are located like this. Yes. Similarly, I will get what? Another set like this, another set like this, right? So, these concentric circles which you are seeing actually is called what? Wavefront. Clear? Now, if I understand this like this, I am taking a stone and throwing on the surface of a lake, and I am seeing the waves are traveling what? Outwards, right? So, if you notice it, you will find at a given instant a number of particles are forming one ring around it. The next moment it goes down and again rises, you see another ring, again goes down a ring. If you see the side view, this is when you look from the top. When you see the side view, then side view is something like this. Up, down, again up, down, goes like this. This is top view and this is the side view. If you go to a beach, for example, if you go to a beach, then how do you see? You find the waves are traveling like this now. Trough and crest, same thing. Side view will come like this. But this is a very common thing that we find particles which are forming these rings. Now, let us understand this. If you look at this diagram once, suppose I am taking 3 points. One point is here P1, one point here is P2, and one point is here is what? P3. You will find that these points P1, P2 and P3, they are located exactly at the same distance from the source. They are located exactly at the what? Same distance from the source. Let us say this distance is what? 4 centimeter. Then I can take a radius of 4 centimeter and draw what? One circle. Right? Similarly, I can take 3 points here. Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4. You will find that all these 4 particles again located at exactly the same distance. So this set of particles which are in the same vibration phase is called a wave front. Clear? So what is a wave front, children? Wave front is locus of particles which are in the same phase. Let's see another way of it. Suppose I have a source of light. I have a source of light here. When I will switch on the source, then the light will be traveling in all possible directions. Clear? Now suppose here one wave is traveling like this, and the wave is traveling like this, and the wave is traveling like this. In different directions these waves are traveling. Yet another one is traveling like this. This one is traveling like this. Now if you know from the equation of a sound of a wave, from here to here it means what? One complete cycle. Yes. So let's say after completing one cycle, if you join all these points, then what will you find? We will find that all these particles which are here, they are in exactly the same vibration phase. Similarly, I can find another set of particles here. After half cycle, they are also in the same vibration phase. So these are called wave front. What do you call? Wave front. So we'll be defining what is wave front. Okay. Same vibration phase. So children, a wave front is locus of all the particles which are in the same vibration phase. Clear? So I am sure by now you have understood what exactly the wave front. Wave front is the courier of energy. It is carrying the what? Energy forward away from the source, away from the source. Clear? Remember, till now I am not mentioned this word ray. I am not using this word ray. I have only spoken about wave front, because Huygens theory said that light is propagated in the form of wave fronts. Right? Once you understood wave front, we will see how many types of wave fronts are there. Okay? Children, we will be discussing now how many types of wave fronts we have. There are 3 types of wave fronts. First one is called spherical wave front, and the second one is called cylindrical wave front, and number 3 is plane wave front. Plane wave front. So there are 3 types of wave fronts we have. We have spherical wave front, we have cylindrical, and we have what? Plane wave front. Let's understand what exactly are these 3 wave fronts. First one we discuss is spherical wave front. Let's understand what exactly is spherical wave front. Spherical wave front. Children, if you have a point source of light, suppose the tip of my finger here contains a bulb. If I switch on this bulb, then what will happen? It will start emitting light, and the light will be traveling in all possible directions, right? If I consider one certain plane, then it becomes a circle. But when I look at the what? Whole space, then the light traveling from the bulb will be forming what? It is forming a sphere, because these waves will be traveling in all possible directions. Clear? Now consider we have a source S out here, and then it is emitting light. So light from this source will be traveling around this to describe what? A sphere in 3-dimensional space, right? Actually, light is traveling where? Outwards. This is how the light is traveling. But the disturbance created by this source, the energy, when I am saying disturbance, I am talking about what? Energy, right? Energy creates the disturbance. So it's traveling here. This is how it is depicted, and each one of these rings you are saying is basically what? A hollow sphere. This is how I can imagine like this. I can imagine fish to be the source and it's expanding like this slowly, expanding outwards, right? This is how the waves are spreading in all directions. This is one particular wavefront, right, describing a three-dimensional space. Next case, it will become big and bigger and bigger, and this is how it will be spreading into the three-dimensional space around me. So when the source of light is a point source, remember, when the source of light is a point source, then what kind of wavefront will you get? Spherical wavefront. And as the name implies, the wavefronts will be directed along the what? Sphere of a certain radius at a given instant. Clear? So wavefront, we'll write about this. It is produced when the source of light is a point source. They will ask you in the exam. They will say a candle will produce what kind of wavefront, and what will say? Spherical wavefront, because the candle is like what? A point source. Okay. I have written the definition. A point source produces a spherical wavefront. Clear? Now once you have understood the concept of spherical wavefront, we will understand what is cylindrical wavefront. Let's see here. Cylindrical wavefront. Children, what is a cylindrical wavefront? Imagine an extended source of light. For example, suppose I look at this chalk. This chalk is what? A linear source of light, like a tube light. When I switch on the tube light, then the light will be coming out what? From here, no? From all directions, yes? At a given time interval, suppose the waves on one side have come up to here, then this side also they will come, this side also they will come. So what will these waves describe? They will be describing a cylinder, right? So imagine a source of light is like this. This is a source of light. Then at a given time t, this is what will you get? Light will be coming all along this side. Right? This is how the light will come. And in the end here, now very important, this part light is what? Cylindrical. But what will happen here? This side will become radial. They will become what? Radial. If you cut a cylinder, a cross section like this, it will become like what? It will become like a disc, no? So at the top, it will be like this. Similarly, this side also. So cylindrical wavefront is produced when you have a linear source of light. Okay, so we'll be writing about this. Okay, so a cylindrical wavefront is produced by a linear source of light. For example, a slit, very important. They will ask you this. For example, a slit. Now, what is a slit? We will be doing this term slit very often, and a very famous experimental syllabus called Young's double slit experiment. What is a slit? Suppose I take a cardboard box which is opaque to light. If I make a hole in it, then the light will come out of this hole now, from here. So this hole is called a slit. This hole is called a slit. So a slit is a small hole. It is also called orifice. Clear? So whenever you will be using a slit, remember, it will be always cylindrical wavefront. Clear? Now I will be doing the third wavefront, children, which is plane wavefront. Plane wavefront. What is a plane wavefront? Let's see. A spherical wavefront is obtained when you have a point source. A cylindrical wavefront is obtained when you have a linear source. Then what is a plane wavefront? Imagine, look at sun, for example. Sun is basically what? A point source. Is a what? Is a sphere, but when I look at the sun, I find from here as if sun is like what? A small point in space, right? Now, if I ask you to draw a circle of radius 10 centimeter, you can easily draw. It will appear like a circle. Now if I ask you to draw a circle having radius 1000 kilometers, how will you see it? You will see as a what? Straight line, na? Like for example, Earth is spherical. When you walk over a small distance on Earth, what do we find? That the distance is what? A linear distance, na? Is plane. But if you go into the outer space and look at the Earth, you will find it is not what? Plane. It is a curvature of a sphere, right? This is what is a plane wavefront. Plane wavefront is obtained when the source of light is located at infinity. When the source is located far away, then what will we see? We will not be able to see a sphere. We will be able to see what? A straight line, right? So, a plane wavefront is obtained when the source is located at infinity. Okay? So, children, a plane wavefront is obtained when source is located at infinity. So, now, if I had to draw a spherical wavefront, I knew where was the center and I could take a radius and draw a spherical wavefront. But when I am drawing a plane wavefront, I do not know where is the center because the center is located at infinity. So, what I will do is, I draw plane wavefront like this, straight lines. There is one plane, this is another plane, these are plane wavefronts. Okay. So, these are plane wavefront. They will be like what? Straight planes like this, as you see, and the light will be traveling like this. Light will be traveling this is how the light will be traveling. Clear? I think light will be traveling like this. This is how light rays travel. So, children, we understood once again, a spherical wavefront is obtained when you have a point source. A cylindrical wavefront is obtained when we have a linear source, and a plane wavefront is obtained when we have what? Source located very far away at infinity. So, we saw all these three wavefronts. Now, we will be defining what is a light ray. What is a light ray? Okay. Children, now we will understand what is a light ray. Because you are familiar with the term ray, you did in class 9, you did in class 10, you did in class 11. What is a light ray in optics actually? A light ray is an imaginary depiction of direction of propagation of light energy, and it is given by a straight line. When I draw like this and mark an arrow, it means this is a ray and the ray is travelling in the direction of the arrow. Clear? In Huygens theory, Huygens actually did not speak about what? He was so possessive about his model that he did not speak about this term ray, he spoke only about what? Wavefronts. That light is a type of wave and is propagated through a medium in the form of wave motion, right? And how it is, this wave motion is being propagated in the form of wave fronts. Clear? Now, what is a light ray? But we know that we must have a depiction of light ray. So, in Huygens theory, what is a ray? In fact, children, ray is perpendicular drawn at any point to the wavefront. A perpendicular drawn at any point to wavefront is called ray. So, let us define. A perpendicular drawn at any point to the wavefront gives the direction of ray at that point. And children, light ray will always move away from the source. So, for example, suppose the source is here, I will write the source as S, and I want to know direction of ray at this point. Then what will I do? I will draw a tangent here, right, and then I will draw a normal. And we know that radius is always perpendicular to tangent any point to a circle, right. So, obviously, the direction of ray is given by the radial lines, and I have already shown these radial lines actually what showing rays. Same thing out here also. If I consider a cylindrical surface like this, if I choose a point here, draw a tangent, then the rays will be radial. So, you must be thinking this is like a linear surface. This is not like a linear surface. Here I can draw what? If I cut across, it will become like what? A disc, no? It will become like a circle like this. Understand? And the rays are coming like this. Can you understand it? In case of a plane wave front is very easy to understand. This is one plane and the ray is at right angle like this. This is a plane and these are the rays. Clear? So, light ray is always perpendicular to the tangents drawn at any given point to the wavefront. Is this concept clear? So here we have radial, and here we got what? Straight lines drawn perpendicular to the plane. If this is one plane, then this is the ray, and this angle should be how much? 90 degree. This angle should be how much? 90 degree. Similarly, this angle should be how much? 90 degree. Clear? Is the concept clear? So you have to understand now that a light ray will be a perpendicular drawn at any point to the wavefront, children. So I will wind up my discussion once again. Wavefront is locus of all the points which are in the same vibration phase. Three types of wavefronts. We have spherical, then you have cylindrical, then you have what? Plane wavefronts. We discussed the sources also. We understood what is light ray. Now once you understood this, then the third point of Huygens theory comes, that current position of wavefront is given by outer what? Common tangent drawn to all the wavefronts, and in physics, language of physics, we call it Huygens construction. They can ask in the exam, what is Huygens construction? Okay, so we'll be discussing what is Huygens construction. Okay, now children, we're going to discuss what is Huygens construction. Huygens construction is used to locate current position of wavefront, and current position of wavefront. The third point of Huygens theory we discussed, that current position of wavefront is given by the common tangent drawn to the wavefront. Achha, here is another term that we use that you have to know, wavelet. Wavelet. So wavelet is what? A point on the wavefront. A point on the wavefront is called wavelet. Clear? Let's understand, children, this wavelet. Very interesting. Let's see here. Suppose I have a point source out here. Suppose a point source out here, and the point source is emitting rays in all possible directions. It is emitting, let me say, wavefronts in all possible directions. Now imagine one wavefront like this. Suppose light from this point source S is travelling in all possible directions, and then you ask me a question, at a time delta t, where light is located. Let us say an interesting question. You may ask, at given time t, where is light located, right? So I will have no choice, but I will have to follow what? Huygens construction, right? Now what I will do is, that after time t, speed of light is what? C. Speed of light is c. Then in time t, this light will travel how much distance? C into t, right? So what I will do? I will take an arc of c into t, and I will draw what? A circle. And then you see, there will be many points here. I will consider one point here. I will consider another point here. I will consider another point here. And the point here. Yet another point here. So many points I can consider, infinite number of points. Now, it is important for you to understand this. What Huygens theory says? Huygens theory says, now mark my words, try to understand it. Huygens theory says that every particle lying on the wavefront, try to understand this nicely, acts as a secondary source of light. That means this point will be as good a source of light as S. What it means is, if I want to study the properties of sunlight, light coming from the sun, I don't have to go to the sun. I can choose a point here only, I can gather light from there and I can analyze. This is what it is meaning. So S is a point source. All these points are acting as secondary sources of light. So if this is a source, this will also emit its own wavefront. So I can what? Consider one wavefront here. I can consider and the wavefront here. I can consider and the wavefront here. I can consider what? So many wavefronts around it. Right. And now these sources, again they will be emitting what? Their own light. They will be emitting their own light here. And yet another wavefront will come. Right? And this will go on travelling. Again we will have more points here. And all these points will be emitting their own lights, and then more and more wavefront will come. So the smaller circles you see, they are representing what? Wavelet. So what we are trying to find out? Huygens construction. Okay, so Huygens construction shows the current position of wavefront. Okay, let's see here. So Huygens construction is used to show current position of wavefront. So suppose I am doing Huygens construction for a spherical wavefront. So what I will do, after time t, children, the wave will be here, and all these will be what? Wavelets. These will be wavelets. So wavelets are what? Secondary sources of light. Yes, points lying in the path of the wavefront is called wavelet. So now what I will do is, I will draw these wavelets having radius of c into delta t. What radius? C into delta t. Let us make this diagram a little bigger, it will be easy for you to understand. S is a source of light here. After time t, the light is reaching up to here. Clear? Spherical wavefront. S is the source, and then I will consider a number of wavelets, right? These are sources, wavelets, and then I draw these wavelets having radius c into delta t. What radius? C into delta t. And then what I will do? I will draw a common tangent. A common tangent will be what? This surface. So this surface will show the current position of wavefront. Clear? So what will you do, children, once again? We will draw the wavefronts at a given instant, and then we will be drawing these wavelets having the same radius at the time after which. See, if imagine a wave is travelling from here, so in delta t time, how much distance will it travel? C into delta t, because distance is speed into light. So after time t, it has travelled a distance ct. After time delta t, I draw this circle saying what radius? C into delta t, and then I will draw this outer what? Tangent, common tangent, which will be another circle, right? So this will be the current position of wave front. So this is Huygens construction for a spherical wave front. Now suppose you are doing Huygens construction for a plane wave front. This is very easy to do. Now pay attention. How will you do it for a plane wave front, children? In case of plane wave front, source is located what? Very far away. So I don't have to write S. I don't have to write source. What I will do is, I will draw just one plane wave front. Clear? Now this plane wave front will have so many what? So many wavelets on it. So what I am going to do? I am going to draw one wavelet out here, second wavelet out here, third wavelet out here, fourth wavelet out here, and then what I will do is, I draw a common tangent. So this common tangent will be what? This straight line, na? This common tangent will be the straight line which is touching all these wavelets. And what will be radius here, children? Radius will be c into delta t. Because if I consider this as the source, or this as the source, in time t, how much distance will travel? C into delta t. So, and this is how the wave will be traveling. This is how the wave will be traveling. Yes. So you have to remember this Huygens construction, which is used to locate the current position of wavefront, right? So children, we did these peripheral topics related to Huygens theory. Now we will be coming to a very important part of it. If you propose any theory of light, suppose I propose a theory of light which is not right, the light is traveling in the form of a cannonball. That is not right, because I will not be able to explain the observed phenomenon that we do, like reflection, refraction, interference, polarization and diffraction. Now after Huygens proposed his theory, it became important for him to prove the laws of reflection and refraction. It is important for exams also, so we will be doing proof of laws of reflection and refraction using Huygens theory. Okay? Proof of laws of reflection by Huygens theory. This is an important topic, children. It comes in exam. It's an important topic for you. This derivation is a small derivation we will be doing. Proof of laws of reflection by using Huygens theory. You know there are only two basic laws of reflection. The first law is that angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. And the second law is that the incident ray, the reflected ray and normal at the point of incidence, they lie in the same plane. So we have to establish both the laws. Establishing I is equal to R will be technical, and that is what is important for you. Okay. So let's say this. Okay. Okay, children. Here we have drawn a diagram to show you reflection of wave fronts, right, from a surface. Suppose this is xy, which is a reflecting surface. This is a reflecting surface. Make sure you understand the diagram. And we have taken two rays. Children, if you look at the diagram, AB is incident wave front. Incident wave front. You can imagine, if you look at my palm is like a wave front, plane wave front. It is going and striking here. So this particle is going to strike first. At the moment this particle strikes, there will be no time lag. Instantly after striking the surface will be reflected, and is being reflected as what? AM1. Clear? Now, similarly, we have another incident ray, that is NB. It is incident at point C and reflected as CN dash. Clear? Now what I want you to understand, there will be many more particles. One more pulse will come, one more disturbance will come like this, and then it will go like this. But with many rays, the diagram will look complicated. So we will be considering two rays. One ray is the one which is striking first, and the other ray which is striking last. You can see that this ray NC is striking last, and this ray MA is striking first. Now I want you to understand very clearly this concept, that the time in which, very important, the time in which a particle will travel from A to D will be the same in which another particle travel from B to C. Very important for you to understand, or you will make a mistake. The time in which a pulse or a disturbance will travel from B to C will be same in which and the pulse will be traveling from A to D. Important concept. And then you can see the incident wave front and the reflected wave front, they are in the same medium. So speed of light will also be same. It is clear. So we will say AB is incident wave front and CD is reflected wave front. Now let us do some constructions out here. Now pay attention, look at the diagram. Let us consider MA as the incident ray. MA as the incident ray. Now look here. So if I consider this a ray diagram, I will draw perpendicular here. I will mark this point a little bit on the left, so the diagram is clear. At point A, I have drawn a normal. I have drawn a normal at point A. Now look at this. If I consider this as incident ray, so this will be angle of incidence. Clear? Now, children, this whole angle is 90 degree. So how much will be this angle? This angle will be how much? This will be 90 minus I. So how much will be this angle? This angle will be I. It is clear. Now similarly, I draw this reflected ray, this angle is R. So this angle is how much? 90 minus R. Once again, you must understand clearly, because the ray is perpendicular to the what? Wavefront. Yes. So if this angle is R, so how much is this angle? 90 minus R. So automatically this angle will be how much here? R. Clear? This angle is I and this angle is how much here? R. Oof. This angle is I and this angle is how much here? R. Isn't it? Clear? Shall I explain once again? See here. This is incident wave front. Pay attention, and this is incident ray. You can easily go wrong here in this diagram. This is wave front and this is ray. like this. This is ray and this is wavefront. So how much is this angle? 90 degree by definition. A ray is perpendicular to the wavefront. So children, this whole angle is how much? 90 degree. Now if this angle is I, so how much is this angle? 90 minus I. Right? And again by construction you can see that this angle is how much? 90. So this angle will be therefore I. It is clear. Make sure you understand the angles. So I will say AB is incident wavefront and CT is what? Reflected wavefront. Now important for you to know is the time in which the wave is travelling from A to D is the same in which the wave is travelling from B to C. Right? Time in which, so children, the time in which wave is travelling from A to D is same in which the wave is travelling from B to C. And speed of light, the medium is not changing, so speed of light will not change. Therefore we can say that AD will be equal to BC, will be speed of light into C. Okay, I'll better write V into T, because here I've already taken C, so you'll be thinking this here, this is C, same, where C is what? Speed of light. Clear? So AD is equal to BC is equal to VT. Now children, here we'll use congruency. In triangle ABC and triangle ADC. Clear? If you look at these two triangles, then we have BC is equal to AD. Why? Each has a value of V into T. BC is equal to AD. Clear? Then we have children AC is equal to AC. Why? AC is equal to AC is base for both the triangles. This is common. And children, triangle ABC, angle ABC is equal to angle ADC is equal to 90. This is by definition. So you can see that side angle criteria is satisfied. Therefore, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ADC. And when triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ADC, therefore angle I is equal to angle R. Why? CPCT. So children, very easily we have proved the first law of reflection, that angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection for the wave front, and for this we have used Huygens theory. Clear? Now comes the second part, the angle of incidence, the incident ray, the reflected ray, and the normal the point of incidence, they lie in the same plane. Let's see by construction out here. AM is perpendicular to BC. And now BC is like this. BC is again perpendicular to the plane of the board, a plane of the paper. MA is perpendicular to AB and AB is perpendicular to plane of the paper. Here reflected ray, CN dash is perpendicular to CN and CN is perpendicular to the what? Plane of the board or the plane of the paper. So this is possible if and only if the incident ray, the reflected ray and the normal, they are lying in the same plane, right? So this proves our proposition for the laws of reflection. So go through this in detail. We will be doing law of reflection next. Now children, we have proof of laws of refraction. And refraction, you know, is the bending of light when it travels from one medium to another, right? So here we have a refracting surface, then you have an incident wave front, and then you have a refracted wave front. I will say this XY is the refracting surface Now children, like before, I'll consider AB as the incident wave front and CD as refracted wave front. Clear? Now let's understand the diagram out here. A light ray is incident here, like this. How much will be this angle, children? 90 degree. Will be perpendicular to the wave front, will be refracted, will go like this. So point D will come out here. Okay, this is point D. This ray will go like this. And how much will be this angle? 90 degree. So see here, you have considered one ray here, MA is going as DM dash after undergoing refraction. And now this ray from the incident wave front B will go straight and strike at point C. Clear? And then this ray at C will again be refracted exactly the first ray, will go parallel to this. If I say this point as N, then this will be N dash. So I hope the diagram is clear to you. AB is the incident wave front, that was nicely. The first disturbance which is striking at point A is going to the second medium. This angle of incidence, this angle of refraction R. So like before, this angle will be how much? R. Clear? These two are refracted rays. We have AM dash and this is ABC. This is C. I'll extend, I'll make it Y out here. Clear? So now let's understand this. Important for you to know that the light ray is going from medium 1 to medium 2. In medium 1, I'll say the speed of light is V1, and in medium 2, the speed of light is, children, V2. Angle of incidence here is I, like before, and this angle of refraction will be how much? R. Now the important thing for us to know is the time in which a pulse will travel, or the wave will travel from A to D will be same in which the wave will travel from B to C. Yes? So when the wave is traveling from A to D, speed is different, B to C speed is different. So they will be bending by what? Different amount. Clear? I am assuming the speed of light in medium 1 is V1, medium 2 is V2. So what you have to remember, the time in which a wave is traveling from A to D, like this, it hits now. So this particle is hitting first, will be refracted also first, like we did in case of reflection also. The time in which a wave will travel from A to D will be same in which a wave will travel from B to C. This angle is how much here? 90 degree. This angle is also how much? 90 degree. Clear? It is clear? So we'll say, we'll make assumptions. So here we wrote the important steps here. AB is incident wave front, CD is refracted wave front, XY the length of the reflecting surface. Let speeds of light in medium 1 and 2 are V1 and V2 respectively, and then we say the time in which a wave is traveling from A to D is same as from B to C, and let this time is T. Let this time is T. So if the time is T, children, then how much will be AD? AD will be, children, V2 into T, and how much will be BC? BC will be equal to V1 into T. And now we will very easily prove Snell's law. If I use sin I in triangle ABC, how much is sin I? Sin I is perpendicular by hypotenuse, everybody knows. So BC divided by AC, and BC is V1T divided by AC. So this is what we got is the value of sin I. Clear? Again in triangle ADC, children, sin of R will be AD divided by AC. And you know that AD is equal to, this is how much here? V2T, and this is how much here? V1 into T. I will mark it also, easy for you to know. So if I put this value out here, children, then AD will be V2T by AC. Now if you divide, then how much do we get sin I by sin R? Therefore sin I divided by sin R. Let's put value of sin I, that is V1T by AC. V1T divided by AC divided by V2T divided by AC. Now you can see that AC and AC are cancelling out, T and T are cancelling out. So what do you get? V1 by V2. So we came across very interesting result. Sin I by sin R is equal to V1 by V2. And this is what? 1 mu 2. Isn't it? This is what? 1 mu 2. Speed of sound in medium 1 divided by speed of sound in medium 2 is refractive index of medium 1 with respect to 2. This is Ri of 1 with respect to 2, and which is Snell's law. So therefore we concluded through our analysis using Huygens theory, the sin of I upon sin of R is 1 mu 2, which is which law? Snell's law. So this major part of the laws of refraction is proved very easily. Now the second part, the incident ray, the refracted ray, and the normals at the point of incident, they lie in the same plane. Let's understand how we prove this. See, incident ray MA is perpendicular to which wavefront? AB. Refracted ray AD is perpendicular to which wavefront? CD. And the normals at the point of incidence and refraction, they are perpendicular to the given surface xy. Yes, they are like this. They are also perpendicular to the plane of the what? Board. Now the wavefronts also perpendicular to the plane of the board. Now if the rays are perpendicular to wavefronts and the normals also perpendicular to the plane on which they have been drawn, this is possible only when they all are lying in the same plane. Clear? So the second part is also proved. Actually second part you can just state it is proved by construction. We have constructed here now, and we are seeing they are on the same plane, right? Now proving the first part, Snell's law, is challenging. So we discussed today, children, in this video the significance and the main points of Huygens theory, the wavefronts, and important we saw types of wavefronts, Huygens construction, and very important, proving the laws of reflection and refraction. Go through this in detail. Okay, thank you.